areas are really clear goals. I'm not sure like what, or they're not quite clear goals yet. We're going to work on refining those, but you can see there's goal areas that are starting to emerge. So tell me how agriculture fits into this story, into the vision. I know it's part of the history. It's a big part of the economy. But how does it fit into the future or the vision?
There's some Mike Oates. I can probably talk about that a little bit. The problem with agriculture and some of these other goals is sometimes they're in conflict with each other. Agriculture has certain uses, certain processes that go through that are a little bit of a problem if they're next to residences or people who don't appreciate what the farmers have to do to grow the fruit. And so sometimes you have to work through those differences. And we have rules in Hood River County. We have some that have been passed down, obviously from the state as well, to try and protect the ag land from the encroachment from the non-ag uses. And it bottom line is it causes a problem there too, because if you restrict trying to save all the farmland, you run out of land for people to live on. And so it's just a huge balancing act. And I've watched it for 40 years, and it's amazing to me that we're still here as agriculture with all the pressure and the desire to live here in Hood River County, but it's still here. And Bob, you probably you've been around this enough. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see, and we've done a little bit on the commission in the past few years, which has been just having the county commission support behind the agricultural community. And if we need, letters of support and stuff, that's good. I think with respect to ag, our biggest problems in ag have nothing to do with Hood River County. So I think that if we can just, from my perspective, it's getting, just having support behind the agricultural industry that's here locally from the commission. But it would be maybe useful to have more conversations about it. I guess when I think of all the help that we need in order to continue to have a prosperous agricultural community, the county commission isn't at the top of the list. So I guess figuring out how to, anything we can do to help, I guess, I don't know. It's difficult. We've never really had a lot of talks about it at the commission level, I guess.
And I think part of it comes from the fact that it's always been a pillar, recognized pillar of our economy, and has always had a pretty strong influence in decisions that commissions made over the years. And so when you're visioning forward, I think it's kind of natural to say, well, that's already a big piece. It's been a big piece. There's a lot of support and infrastructure already there. And when you're looking to the future and trying to envision a different future, like you naturally tend to look towards those things that need more help and need to be developed further.
Yeah, Commissioner Babbitts?
I guess the way that I look at it, and last time I brought this up, I wound up getting yelled at by Ron Rivers, so I'm going to be careful how I say it. But to me, agriculture is the heart and soul. It's kind of an emotional center to Hood River, but it's not the muscle. Numerically, it isn't what drives our county's economy, but it's what we think of ourselves as, and therefore is so fundamental and so important. So I think it is very important that the commission continue to take actions to protect the viability of agriculture within our county, and it's going to become harder and harder as our industrial center grows. But it's one of those things that deserves more attention than the dollars would say.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Commissioner Droplin, I feel like everybody's weighed in on it. I want to make sure if you have something to say, please share.
No, not really. It's been covered really well. I disagree with Les when you talked about there was the three legs to the stool for our county for decades, and agriculture has definitely always been one of them and will be in the future. So it certainly needs to be considered in its own light, as it is quite different, like Commissioner Benton pointed out.
Okay.
This is Jeff. As it relates to agriculture, at least from my perspective, and I don't know if it's real or not, but there's conflict in the county between those that have various economic interests, and sometimes that is more apparent than others, but there just seems to be an underlying conflict. And the reality is there's synergy between the sectors and they depend on each other, but it doesn't always play out in terms of how people perceive what's going on. And sometimes, at least for me, it's uncomfortable.
Okay. So there's some underlying conflict there between industries, you said?
Yeah, specifically, I'll say between tourism and agriculture.
Okay. Oops. And those are both it's kind of central to Hood River's identity. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Benton.
Yeah, I guess just as somebody in the ag industry, I guess I get a little bit tired of being the soul of Hood River, and hearing somebody that isn't involved in the industry tell me that's what I am. I guess it's just I usually hear that from people that vote ways that don't benefit my business and the soul and heart of the community. So I'm not accusing Commissioner Babbitts of that. It's just oftentimes those folks that tell me how important I am seem to not understand how my business works. So I don't know. It's a delicate subject. I think Jeff brought it up a little bit, but yeah, we're an odd group, the farmers in Hood River County and all over. Farmers are just a really interesting group of people. So, but it's a challenge to, I guess, align.
Okay.
There's going to be conflict.
Okay. Commissioner Joplin.
I was just going to comment on something that Jeff mentioned about kind of the conflict between tourism and agriculture. It also seems like there's a bit of cross-pollinating and pressure with some of the tourism being based in the agricultural area around with the wineries, and we see all kinds of interesting hobby farms, beekeepers and such popping up in our community. So there's this also kind of growing pressure of cross-pollinating between the tourism piece in Hood River and the agricultural base.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Perkins.
Great for a conversation at a commission meeting, just similar to housing, where we figure out our scope and how we want to be involved.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to add that. So what's the county's role in this? Okay, Commissioner Perkins, sorry, go ahead.
I think Commissioner Joplin brought up a point that's I think been popping into my mind a lot lately, is that that increase in ag-related tourism and the pressure to do more with ag land that sometimes conflicts with farming practices is going to be I see that as an area that we're going to have to deal with and confront and think about. But I also think that I think what Arthur's saying about the kind of the soul of Hood River County, I think what gets overlooked a lot of times is that ag land is what, and this is true in all of Oregon, ag land is what provides much of the open space that people appreciate. And it has wildlife benefits. It has environmental benefits. There's just a ton of things that people don't take into account that ag impacts. And certainly tourism is driven heavily by recreation, but it's also driven by people wanting to come out into an area with beautiful agricultural fields and orchards and all those pieces. So it's all interwoven. And
you mean no concrete?
Yes. And active, people making a living off the land. I think there is a huge romantic draw to that. And so I think, yes, I can see it being irritating to be romanticized when it's your job that you do every day. But it is a big draw.
Okay. All right. Thank you for elaborating on that. I think we've got a lot of a lot of ideas over here. It certainly feels like it's part of the